all the super great ladies in the house, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural meetup of Data Science Nigeria Ladies in Artificial Intelligence, a platform we have created for gender inclusion and to support good representation of ourselves as ladies in the professional community of data science, which today is the world's fastest growing career path according to the US-based Glassdoor. It's actually #1 career for 4 years running now. You will all agree with me that the nature of curiosity and attention to details required in artificial intelligence and data-related stuff are natural gifts that we have as women. Hence, I can conclude that we are naturally at an advantage to be better and actually lead in this space. If you agree, say yes. At Data Science Nigeria, we believe in the concept of a new gender-neutral genotype that we have defined by letter A and I with a plus. It is not your typical blood groups A, B, or O, because these species we are raising are both universal donors of artificial intelligence knowledge and universal recipients of AI knowledge, which by implication means everyone can learn AI everywhere and every day, online or face-to-face. This explains our strong focus on gender inclusion with some of these female-focused initiatives that we have done in the last 3 years. Inclusion policy for our boot camps and events, celebrating females, milestones, dates, sponsorship, Best Indaba poster winner to Kenya, Best Female Award at AI Bootcamp, Women in AI session at AI Bootcamp 2019. We also have Miss Algorithm Award to promote values of community building and excellence. Now, we have now added ladies in AI to encourage young women in schools to be inspired by the motivational stories that our very esteemed speakers will share with us today. I want to especially thank our speakers for volunteering to share in this vision to nurture the future with us. We appreciate you all. As the popular saying goes, if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. We believe that achieving our 1 million data science talent in 10 years will be faster when we deliberately invest in female data scientists from nursery and primary school to the highest level. Once again, thanks for joining us this evening. Have a great time. Engage our speakers via the chat room, ask questions, follow them up on LinkedIn for engagement that is more personal. Be more involved in all data science Nigeria learning and keep growing. Always be inspired by this quote by Bosa Sebele. There is no force more powerful than a woman determined to rise. Let's go straight into the event tonight by watching 2 inspiring testimonials from professionals who have attended our past paid training. Enjoy.
Okay, so I chose data science because, I mean, it's the future. And then, of course, when you look at the way that the world of work is evolving with the statistics, I mean, we have several statistics, one of which I saw recently saying that 47% of jobs as we know it today will evolve or no longer exist. So it's just only natural that you evolve and acquire skills that are in time with, you know, the time, and then, of course, what the future prescribes. I came in contact with Data Science Nigeria for the first time. I think your very first boot camp. I was supporting a client at the very first boot camp that I held in Lagos. And since then, Data Science Nigeria has pretty much been on my radar. I've been keeping tabs on the company. And then a few times, I think after that event, I Googled Data Science Nigeria. And I saw a number of the trainings that you had planned out, and it looked quite interesting. My very first class, of course, we learned about the types of data And then by the second class, what I really like about the class is the fact that it's very hands-on. So now, I mean, when someone comes and says big ML, I'm like looking at you like, oh, I know what that is, With big ML, we're able to evaluate models, and then went on to the next class, which we had to use text mining tool, which was Orange. Tell everybody I come in contact with, especially young people in school right now, jobs as we know it will no longer exist. So you should get trained, in one of the technical skills. It could be data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence. That is the future, and of course you have to take the data science Nigeria. Now, here's why. One, I see that there's a whole lot. First off, the vision to get 1 million people, 1 million AI talent out of Nigeria, I think it's very laudable personally. I'm quite aligned with that vision. I think it's a good one. And then I can tell you for free that the training that you get is actually relatable. You can use it from the get-go. It's not all theory. And that's exactly what you have here. So I highly recommend Data Science Nigeria for your data science or AI or machine learning or any other fourth industrial revolution skills. I heard about data science from a friend who also just completed a program with you guys, and you really had a very good experience. So I was encouraged as I was starting my journey in data analysis. So I was encouraged to come, and today was eye-opening. So far so good, has been a wonderful one. I was able to learn the use of data to interpret data, to predict the future, definitely. And also I was able to, understand the essence of the data, the raw data we have currently. And I would definitely encourage anyone to come here to learn about that.
Good evening, ladies. Welcome to tonight's session. It's a pleasure to have you here. My name is Wuraola Oyewusi C, and I'm welcoming you again and again. Tonight, we'll be discussing the theme, Building a Career in AI and Data Science. We have 5 solid ladies with trailblazing careers, and they'll be sharing in form of stories. So for each of the speakers, everybody is going to answer the question of the most defining moment of their career, and they'll be answering individual questions that shows us strengths from their paths in different fields. I hope that you have a great time. I hope that you engage like we've shared before in the live chat, and you enjoy this opportunity of a lifetime. Thank you again for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. This is Jania Okwechime, and I'll be talking to you about building a career in AI and data science. Let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. So I'm currently working at Deloitte Nigeria as an Associate Director in Risk Advisory. I'm also the West Africa Data Analytics Leader. Prior to joining Deloitte Nigeria, I was working at Deloitte UK as an Assistant Director in Forensic Technology. And previously, I've worked as a big data consultant in Ab Initio Software, which is a data warehousing company. And over the years, I have experience providing consulting and big data solution to major banks, telecommunication companies, and retailers, both in UK and US, as well as Singapore, South Africa, and Nigeria. I've got a bachelor's degree in computer science from European University Cyprus and a master's degree and a PhD in computer vision from University College London. The work I did in my PhD involved developing probabilistic generative models for objects in such a way that the computers can make predictions about them. I mostly worked with faces as well as pedestrians to predict their poses. So the algorithms that I developed would, given an image, would look at the scene and say, hey, I can see a woman. Oh, it's Janet, by the way. And she's in her mid-40s. So this is the kind of predictions that you would have seen in Google Goggles by helping, with the computers, helping interpret scenes and images. I also briefly worked in using AI in medical imaging, where I work with our biology department to predict cancerous versus non-cancerous cells with actually a pretty good level of accuracy, over 99%. Before I move on how and why to build a career in AI, I would like to talk about why AI and why now. So AI has been around for many decades. Why is it now that all of a sudden it's become a buzzword? We see it everywhere. Well, one of the main drivers is the huge explosion that we've seen in data. Everything that you do now, every text message that you send, every phone call that you make, every email, every time you browse the web, we collect data. We generate data. Actually, companies collect data. And why are companies able to collect data? Because there's been great advancement in the technology as well. Now we're not worried about hardware. We're not worried about space on the computer. We've got the cloud. All of these have contributed to AI being more relevant nowadays. And we can see and interact with AI every day, even if we don't realize. Your smartphone, every time you call Siri or you call Alexa to read the news for you, you're interacting with an AI agent. Amazon is doing deliveries with drones. That's an AI agent. That's actually computer vision to be able to see the scenes and interpret, as well as other technology to get the parcel delivered. So AI is very relevant to the current market. So you're in a great place and great in thinking how to develop a career in AI. So now let's start by thinking how you can shape your career in AI and data science. As you can see here, I've put emphasis on your. Why is that? That's because your journey to a career in AI may be very different from the person next to you. What may be an ideal and successful career in AI may mean nothing to someone else. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through a journey. I'm going to walk you through the journey I had to go through and the kind of questions I had to answer and the choices I had to make. And by doing so, hopefully, I'll start igniting those thoughts and questions in your head, and maybe some of the answers I give may resonate with some of you and help you start thinking about how you can build a career in AI. Before we do that, we need to think about and look at ourselves and see where we are in our career right now. So amongst my audience here, some of you might be students in school still, or in university studying. Some of you might have just graduated from university and considering your career options. Some of you might be working professionals already working and thinking, is there a possibility of me getting into a career in AI now? So let's start going through some of the things that you might be considering. I'm going to first focus on the students and the graduates. The very first question I would say you need to ask yourself is, where does your passion lie? You know, you might be studying a degree that has nothing to do with AI. Maybe you're studying biology. Maybe you're studying engineering. Is there an opportunity for you to build a career in AI? The answer is yes. I know there are a lot of specialized courses now that are particularly tailored to AI, but you don't have to be in one of those specific courses in order to develop a career in AI. When I started, first of all, they weren't such specified and specific courses that had to do with AI. I studied computer science, and I was lucky that I had two great professors, and I took two courses, namely artificial neural networks and image processing. And by combining the two, I found my passion for pattern recognition and artificial intelligence. And that's how that opened the door for me in this career. But you might be in biology. All you have to do is find relevant, how AI can be relevant in your industry. Did you know actually nowadays AI is used in the drug trials? AI is used, or computer vision is used to actually making sure that all the correct dosages of different components are combined to make the drug safe. I've already shown you some examples of medical image analysis, but did you know that also augmented reality, which is part of computer vision and AI, is now used in surgery to help the surgeons perform surgeries with a higher level of accuracy? Maybe you're not into medicine, but you're into engineering. You can actually start thinking about how drones are built and how AI is built into them. Or it could be that you're into gaming. Did you know that gaming industry is one of the industries that's been using AI for the longest time, and it also keeps evolving? Sony recently announced that in PlayStation 5, they're actually going to use AI to make the soundtracks personalized to your style of playing. Depending on your emotions and how you're playing that particular game, the soundtrack is going to change to fit your mood. Or it could be that you're not into any of these, you're into fashion. Is there room for AI in fashion? The answer is yes, absolutely. ASOS, which is an online retailer in the UK, has been leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning for a long time now. And one of the latest things that they do is to actually allow you to upload an outfit that you like, and they use image matching and image recognition to go and search the entire warehouse to try and find similar outfits to that. Or it could be that you are a sports kind of person. You love football or you love tennis. Can you build a career in AI while still following your passion? Yes. Did you know that the Hawkeye in tennis, when they can actually tell whether it was the ball was in or out, it's using computer vision? Or if you're into football, computer algorithms and artificial intelligence is actually used to analyze the way players play and come up with an optimized team formation or optimized strategy to improve each player's game individually. Some of the other examples are maybe you're passionate about being in a charitable work, or you care about looking after people. Is there any room for AI in your line of work? Yes, absolutely. Did you know that some of the things actually when I was doing my research in computer vision, one of the things we were looking at was action recognition. And one of the applications of that was to install these cameras in these elderly homes where mostly these old people live alone. They don't have any help. This was to actually recognize their normal pattern of day-to-day life. And if anything is different to that, then they would ring an alarm, and someone like a social care worker would come and check up on them. If there's no movement, for instance, are they still okay? Or did they just fall down the stairs and they need immediate medical help? So you can see their AI is everywhere. So if you're a student, no matter what degree you're studying, you can actually find applications of AI in there, and now go and pick those courses to learn. And luckily for you, even if your particular university is not offering those courses, there are various sources of AI courses online that you can get involved in. So that there's nothing that would stop you there. And now let's talk about graduates. So you've just graduated and you are building a career in AI. What is it that you're supposed to do? How can you develop a career in AI? Where are you supposed to go? So here are some of the questions that I had to ask myself. I had just completed my PhD and I was ready to start my career. The very first question for me was, do I stay in academia or do I go to industry? I had a passion for teaching. I absolutely loved teaching. I loved imparting my knowledge onto others and inspiring people. So I actually really enjoyed that. And combined with research, for the longest time, I was seriously considering staying in academia. However, when I graduated, it was the worst economic crisis that was hit by the 2008-2009 collapse of the banks. So there were no jobs in the industry, which meant that people like myself who were qualified and who had academic background moved back to academia, which meant that all the faculty positions, all the research fellowships were also taken. So there was a challenge for me. Do I stay in academia? Do I go? There aren't any positions available. Eventually I decided, even though I love doing research, but I also like doing things that are practical. So I decided one day that, yes, I absolutely love doing cutting edge research, but I really wanted to see how I can use machine learning in practice to make a difference to businesses, to make a difference to people's lives, and be more practical about it. So this is one of the things that you ask yourself as well. It's not that everyone wants to go to industry. Maybe where your career lies is actually in academia, where you become a professor in AI and you publish papers and you inspire people to go to conferences and just push the edge of science. Let's say now you've decided that you want to move to industry. Where do you go? Do you go to a startup? Do you start in a cool AI technology startup? Or do you go work in a corporate, a more established company that's been there for the longest time? Apart from the different choices of clothing and dress code that you'll go, instead of showing up in jeans and a hoodie, you probably need to wear a suit or a skirt and look all presentable. What are the differences between having a career in a startup and a corporate, and which one is the one that's right for you? So in a startup world, naturally, because it's a smaller environment, you will be wearing many hats. So you will not be just doing one thing. Maybe you'll be hired as the technical AI lead. However, you will get involved in bringing the team together, writing up the proposals, or trying to go and finance the project, trying to find a budget, right? Going to all of these angels or investors to bring in the product, which means you will be doing a lot of things, which is great because you're going to gain first-hand experience in so many of these things. But at the same time, the pressure probably will be a lot, but there's always that job security as well. Every startup starts with the greatest ambition. However, not all of them survive after a few years. So there's always that job security as well, like depending on where you are in your career and whether you can afford to have this. So it's a little bit of a gamble, just like everything else as well. But on the other hand, the corporate world is a lot more established. You probably wouldn't worry about job security, and you can draw in from vast amount of experience from people who've been in the same industry for many, many years. And also, corporates do provide you with training and allow you to get qualifications. So those are some of the great things that you could get from the corporate. However, on the other hand, maybe things don't move as fast as they would in a startup. Maybe in a startup, you do a prototype, you do a development within a few weeks to a month. However, in the corporate world, a lot of processes and procedures need to happen before anything goes out. There is a company's reputation, or things are done in a certain way. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. You just have to ask yourself, do you see yourself working in a startup from the ground up, building and developing a solution? Or do you rather be in a more established company and learn from others while you go up there and you go up the ladder? And maybe that's where you want to be. That's what your ambition is. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what you want to do and what fits you best where you are right now in your career. But let's not also forget about entrepreneurship. Are you an entrepreneur at heart? I truly believe people are born to be either entrepreneurs or not. I know people who've worked in many jobs, many wonderful companies, but at the end of the day, one thing or another has always drawn them one step back and said, this is not for me. I actually need to do my thing. I want to make a difference. And they need to have certain kind of different characteristics. You need to be resilient, you need to be a visionary, and you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. So maybe entrepreneurship is for you. But again, maybe you tried. I built my own company right after my PhD. I decided I love this so much. I want to do computer vision, and I've got a really good research going. I've got a really good product. I can actually sell it to help companies solve their computer vision problems. I even had a couple of customers, and after a few meetings, they were interested in my products. So a few phone calls, but when I actually get to the meeting and started talking to them, I realized that the whole time they were just interested in my qualifications and they were interested in me. So when I went to a meeting thinking I'm there to sell my product, they were there trying to hire me. So they were more interested in me as a person to work for them rather than me as a company to provide them a service. But anyways, I did give it a try. It wasn't right for me at the time, so I moved on to the industry. So these are just some of the things that you need to ask yourself. But also remember, what might be right for you now may not be the right thing for you in a few years' time. Maybe you choose to stay in academia now, and a few years later you decide to go to industry, or vice versa. Maybe you want to work in the corporate world now, but some time later you've done some savings, you've actually are a bit more secure, and you're like, you know what? I want to start in a startup. I want to experience a different kind of world. Or maybe at some point you want to be your own entrepreneur and build your own company and go for that. So again, there's no right or wrong answer, but just be true to yourself and know what it is that you like to achieve. And now I'd like to move to the graduates who are looking into getting into a company, and also those who are professionals in the company. How do you now shift your career or include AI in your career? How do you go about doing that? And what I like to call this is the dream versus the reality. Why do I say that? I say this specifically for those graduates who are very enthusiastic. They've just completed a course or a degree in artificial intelligence, and they are ready to join a company and change the world. And then you join, and then you realize within a couple of weeks that yes, that is what you want to do, but you're stuck with doing data cleansing the whole time. Or you're stuck with telling the client they don't have the capacity or the infrastructure, or they don't even have data to build all those wonderful, magical solutions that they're after. And that's then where then there's the two type of people. Some I've seen that they get disheartened very quickly, and they say, this is not what I had imagined. I thought, I'm going to come and start working in AI from day one. And they get disappointed, they get withdrawn, and eventually they either leave or they lose their motivation, which is quite unfortunate. Which is why I always tell my team, you will get there. You will get to do all the wonderful things and all the magical things. However, sometimes you need to go with where the demand is and where the basic is. And the data is the most important thing. If a company doesn't have the data to build all those wonderful AI predictive models, then you start with cleansing the data. That might take weeks or months or a year, but you hang in there, because before you do that, you cannot build anything else on top. And now for the professionals who are already in an industry. Here are some of the things that I believe you need to know and you need to do in order to be successful in as an AI and data science practitioner. First of all, no matter how far along in your career, you should always make time to learn new concepts. Actually, a few months back, I was talking to a partner in Deloitte US. He's an expert. He's his unit's head, and he's an expert in his industry. However, he told me that he's taking time off to go to do a master's degree in data science. I was very, very impressed, and that was very commendable, because he saw the need to upskill himself, to educate himself in an emerging area. And he was not afraid to say that, hey, I understand a little bit, but I don't understand enough to be able to serve my clients. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm going back to school. I'm going to learn about this, and now combine it with my experience to be able to serve my clients. So again, depending on where you are in your career, so if there's people in the audience who already have got careers in a completely different field, but now they're seeing that AI is emerging in their industry, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how senior you are in your company, it's okay to take time to learn. It's actually a great it's a great thing to do. You will be inspiring those in your team to do the same. The second thing I always tell people, in order for you, especially again, if you come from a very technical background, as I said, we might tend to be like, I understand the technology, I'm going to build this solution, and it's going to be great. that solution is not going to be great unless it's aligned to a business problem. So one of the most important things is understand the business, understand the problem you're going to solve. It's not just about throwing the most fancy, the most advanced technology at it. I'll tell you something about one of the first things that I experienced when I joined Deloitte. I remember I was going to propose a model to do for fraud detection. And so I spend a few days, and just typical of during the PhD, what you do is you do a lot of research. And, there are so many things and different models that you come up with. They're novel models. That's what the PhD is about. You can just repeat what someone else has done. So there I was thinking about developing so many different complex models to solve this problem. And it was taking me some time, and I was under pressure to present. But at that point, I thought, well, I've only just built a logistic regression model and an SVM model, and I've just done some principal components analysis. I'm getting some results, which is good. But, I feel like this is not enough. I mean, I've got a PhD. I should be able to present more complex stuff. First of all, by the time I was halfway through logistic regression, everyone was like, whoa, slow down. You need to tell us exactly how that's going, what that's doing, and wow, you're getting the results. And there was a light bulb moment where there was the academic in you versus the professional in you kind of think and align, and you realize that in industry, it doesn't matter how complicated or simple your solution is. It matters that it works and it's suited to the problem. So that's another thing I would say. Do not think about throwing just any technology or any simpler complex technology. Use technology that solves that specific problem. And also build with the future in mind. So it's very tempting to looking at a client or looking at a problem and start building small solutions that solves part of that problem. However, where we are now, it's important to take a step back and realize what you're building now, where you're investing your time to learn, to develop, and study. Is it going to be relevant in the next 10 years? Yes, we have drones now. Yes, we have screens that can see us and recognize us. We have face recognition. We have fingerprint recognition. We can get robots that bring us stuff. But are they going to stay there in the next 10 years? When you're thinking of building your future, start thinking about what you need to study now so that it's relevant in 10 years' time. Maybe it won't be so much about building the algorithm, but maybe helping the machines build those algorithms and understand and optimize. Maybe think about, hey, we're managing the drones now. What's going to happen in 10 years' time? Maybe we need to build another drone that's managing those drones. So those are the kind of things. I know it sounds a bit sci-fi now, but those are the line of thoughts that you need to have. That's in terms of the technology and the technology aspect of things. But again, as an AI and data science practitioner, there's some of the skills that you need to have as a person that, in my opinion, is very important. When you are an expert or a practitioner in AI and data science, it's very, very, very important that you know your stuff. That you don't know just logistic regression, that you know exactly how it works, what kind of problems it is suited to, what it can solve, and what are its limitations, and how you're going to solve a specific problem in such a way that you can easily able to explain that complex process to a 10-year-old who doesn't really understand a lot of complex thoughts. At the same time, you should know it inside out so that if the person you're talking to, your client, your peer, is an expert in the field, they would still appreciate you and appreciate your knowledge because you know it inside out. But at the same time, you should have the ability to explain this solution you're just proposing to the CEO of the company who doesn't have a lot of technical experience. He just knows his business, or she just knows her business. So you need to be able to explain to them, not in terms of logistic regression and machine learning and this and that, because they see those things as black box, and it actually throws a lot of people off and they say, I don't trust it. But if instead you can say that, no, this has been through a process where we've developed it by training and doing testing and validation, and based on these experiments that we've done or these sort of steps that we've done, we've got confidence in the model that it's going to predict 80-something% or 90% accuracy based on this and this and this, and you break it down to in simpler terms, that's when you're a winner. That's when you can sell your product, or that's when you can propose your solution. And another important thing I think to always have in mind in your career is that along the line, always educate and empower your peers, your clients, and people around you. It's not an individual that will be successful. You will be successful as a team. And the more successful your team is, the more successful you are. I was asked the question, what was the defining moment and decision of your entire career? For me, I would say it was deciding to do a PhD. I think it became at some point during my master's year that I am really passionate about this subject, and that I would really like to do further research in this. However, again, you're at that point in your career where your peers are off to the industry, they start making money, they start building their future, and you think, another 4 years in academia, am I going to stay behind? What if my research doesn't get anywhere? Is this the right thing to do? But at some point, it became really clear to me that yes, that is my passion and that's what I want to do. And why was it a defining moment? Because by doing a PhD, not only I became an expert in a topic that I was very passionate about, but also the 4 years of the PhD was a long journey of character building. Doing a PhD is like an emotional roller coaster. Yes, it has the highs, it has the ups, where you've just presented the result of your research in an international conference and you feel recognized and you're in cloud nine. However, to get there are months and months and months of not getting anywhere. You might have worked on this thing for 6 months and you're not getting any results. It's that drive to wake up every morning knowing you're going to go sit in front of your computer, do the same kind of things, not get anywhere at the end of the night, go to bed, and have that drive to wake up again next morning to try. And I think those are the skills that when you learn and you build, then they're built for life. You use that every day of your life in every aspect of your life. In addition to that, doing a PhD, it taught me how collaboration can lead to a lot of successes, how helping each other to succeed will help you to succeed as well going forward. So what's my advice to you in the end? My advice to you is that your career journey in AI will be unique to you. Do not live someone else's dream. Build what your passion is. And learn some more. You can never stop learning. Be determined, but adaptable. What does this mean? I'll give you an example. I had a PhD in computer vision. I wanted to do computer vision. When I graduated, I said, great, I'm going to do great stuff. I wanted to be in Google. I wanted to do their image search. I wanted to work on Google Maps. I wanted to work on Picasa and do the face recognition. I actually did an internship in Google and I was very excited about. So when I graduated, I said, I want to do that. However, I soon found out that Google in UK was not doing any of that. It was Google in US that was doing all of that. And due to personal circumstances, I couldn't move to US. I had to stay in the UK. So I was a bit disappointed. In fact, there was no machine vision company in the UK at the time. So I felt a bit upset that I've just studied this and I've become an expert in the field. And now what? So I started doing something different. So I got into big data consulting. And For a couple of years, I thought, I'm not really doing any AI, so it started bugging me. But at the same time, I thought, hey, I'm here now. My skills and my education in AI and machine learning is not going anywhere. But I'm here now. Let me learn a little bit about big data. And guess what? A few years down the line, now that I'm at Deloitte, by combining my skills in big data analytics and combining my skills in AI, I'm able to offer pretty unique services. So it turned out great for me. The next thing I would say, so that's why I would say be adaptable. You may not get the perfect career that you had in mind, but make the most of what you have and see how you can apply AI in it. Dare to make a change. The same career that I said, after a couple of years, it was great. I was gaining a lot of experience. However, deep down, I knew that this is just a technical role. I feel like I have a lot more to offer. Being again an academic at heart, I like that transfer of knowledge. I liked working in a team. I liked inspiring the juniors in my team. I like leading. I like managing. So at some point, even though I had a great job, great team, great colleagues, I decided it's time for me to move on. And that's when I joined Deloitte. And there I got to practice a lot of other soft skills that I enjoyed doing. And eventually, actually, that gave me the opportunity to use machine learning and AI. Again, may not be in computer vision, but I end up doing predictions in fraud or fraud detection and anomaly detection in transactional data. Soon I realized the skills are not going anywhere. It's the same kind of skill. Instead of applying it on images, applying it on financial data. So again, it was very difficult for me to move from that job, but it was the right thing to do. And you see this image here. It's one of my favorite things I've come across recently, which is, so this is where your comfort zone is, and this is where magic happens. So don't dare to make a change. Don't be afraid to make a change. Push out of your comfort zone. You can do it. It'll be difficult in the beginning, but you can do it. Another most important thing is be kind to yourself. Sometimes we are our most, not sometimes actually, always we are our worst critic. You may be doing something with the best ambitions and the best efforts and you fail. And that's okay. Even the biggest names have failed before they got to where they are. So be kind to yourself. If you fail and if you're upset, acknowledge it. Understand where you went wrong. And now try again. Or it could be that it was just not your time. Maybe you just needed that failure to learn from that. And then something greater will happen later. So always have that in mind. And most importantly, never, 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 never ever give up. Because you don't know how close you are to success. I would now like to conclude with one of my favorite quotes of all time. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And now that you know what it's like to develop a career in AI, from some of the questions I've thrown out there, I'd like to think about it. What are some of the answers to those questions for you particularly? What are some of the choices that you would like to make? And dream about that successful AI career that you envision. And now go away and make that dream a reality. Thank you for listening. I'll be online to answer any questions that you may have.
I actually think that large data projects can be daunting to both men and women alike. If you look at the statistics, McKinsey estimates that about 70% of all large transformation projects fail. Now, whether it's failure to launch, failure to scale, or failure to sustain, they are all still really failures. But when it comes to the assumption that women are more risk averse, actually, I would like to challenge that. In my experience, I've found that women come to the table with much more than just their technical skills. They're very solid technical skills, actually. They're able to actually juggle and balance, if you will, the many diverse, often conflicting interests that you get on a large project. They are also able to communicate extensively across teams so that what you're able to do is that every employee, every team member knows where they are at any point in time and also what they should be doing, which really does help productivity. I also found that women are very aware of the factors that need to be taken into consideration for adoption of a project after it goes live. And really, those factors are the ones that really determine the difference between a failed project and a successful one. Now, there are many reasons why there might not be a lot of women in large data projects. And I think one of the major ones is that there are just not enough women in STEM-related fields. I mean, the World Economic Forum actually has data on this, and it says that for global admissions, about only 3% are female for ICT-related courses. It goes up a little bit to about 5% for statistics and maths, and goes up a little bit more for engineering to 8%. But you can see those figures are nowhere near enough. So really, we need to challenge some of the stereotypes and some of the cultural and gender biases that try to or tend to restrict women to certain fields and not STEM courses. I think another reason why you might not find a lot of women in large data projects is that there are not a lot of female role models and female mentors. If we had more of them, I think it would encourage younger people who are coming up to actually aspire to such roles. And another reason is that there is the perception that there is no work-life balance, or there's very little work-life balance. But I think things are really changing a lot. Right now in this crisis, we've witnessed what is being called the rise of the low-touch economy. So really, with collaborative tools and new ways of working, it is very, very possible to actually achieve the work-life balance that you desire. So that should not be a deterrent. But a large data program, which is really a series of projects that I've been involved in, has been for a tier 2 bank, whose main objective was really to harness the potential of their data, use data to create value, and also to drive operational efficiencies. The bank at the time had over 3 million customers, over 200 branches, and more than 3,000 employees. And I was a program director for 3 main projects as a portfolio of projects. And the first one was really upgrading the core banking application. And that was just to ensure that all the different capabilities for data and other areas could be sustained and supported by the core banking application. So essentially future-proofing the core banking application. The second one was around data cleansing and data governance. And that was really looking at the data quality and integrity that decisions were being made on, to ensure that as data comes in, the quality was as high as possible and integrity as high as possible, and also looking at how to rectify any data issues that were already in-house. And the third project was how to use data to drive relationships, customer relationships, and how to really form the basis for capabilities such as data science and data analytics. Now, capabilities for data science and data analytics is actually quite interesting, because that's where you now have capabilities such as the organization being able to be proactive and really anticipate needs of the customers. Now, whether it's using predictive models or using visualization tools to tell stories, data stories, and to make informed decisions, that's really some key components of that. Another thing around data science, data analytics is really about being able to use that data to drive personalized service based on people's preferences and their behaviors and their profiles. Being able to optimize the customer experience because you have data on that and you can actually do something about it. And also being able to mitigate risk and fraud and make sure that they're not happening as much as they should. And also another one is really to drive the development of great products that you wouldn't ordinarily have known customers might need, but because the data is giving you those insights, you're actually turning those insights into actions, whereby you're producing products that people need. I navigated this large data program as follows. It was about plan, 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 and communicate. I really did make sure that the fundamentals were in place first. And what do I mean by that? And that was really aligning the strategy of the various projects with our overall business strategy. Because without doing that, really, we were just doing projects for project's sake. So it's about making sure that whatever project we are doing actually feeds into the overall business strategy and helps us understand how data can help to achieve our overall business objectives. I also looked at how I could get buy-in very early. So buy-in from executive management, because they needed to really be the sponsors of the program, and they needed to really cascade the vision of the outcomes and the possibilities and the objectives throughout the organization, and also buy-in from users who will be involved in every stage of the different projects. I also looked at how to really look at adoption. What's the technology that is needed? How do we embed this technology? What are the skills needed within the organization? Do we need to reskill people? Do we need to bring in outside consultants and contractors? What do we need to do? What structure do we need to have within the organization to actually make this function work? Then I made sure that I communicated quite extensively so that at any point all employees knew what was in it for them, what the changes were, and how it really affected them. I also looked at how we could demonstrate value very early on. And by that I mean, I looked at how we could have quick wins, so things we could do within weeks to demonstrate the feasibility and the importance and the benefits, potential benefits of the project, the different projects and the actual program. And then I also made sure that the different other milestones of value were quite clear and made sure those were communicated throughout the organization quite frequently. Now, I don't think there's one big defining moment for my career so far. I think what I find when I look back is that there have been a series of major turns that have changed the direction of my career for sure. And when I also look back, I see that there is a theme, and that theme is it's been based on times when I have decided to push myself, if you will, out of my comfort zone and to really go after the things that I was interested in at that time. It's also been a time when the major turns have also come from times when I've decided to extend myself and help in the development of women and young people. These are disadvantaged groups that I think that I'm always interested in helping. Now, academically, when I served, what I did was to actually do a short course in computer programming, and that changed my perception of work entirely. For those who know, I got introduced to word processing, spreadsheets, databases, and those who know, who remember that far back, things like WordStar, WordPerfect. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant. What it did was really to change my perception of what the capabilities were of IT. In fact, I didn't even know that this world existed. After that, I decided to really launch full steam ahead into IT, into technology. And I decided to do a master's in information systems and technology. And I did that at City University in the UK. And that really gave me so many tools in technology, in information systems, in thinking in a systematic manner. And really what happened was that enabled me to get into so many places I hadn't thought about, world-class organizations. It also enabled me to run my own business for many years, where I was contracting and consulting in IT and technology and business. Now, after I'd done that for many years, what I decided to then go on and do is to round out my professional experience with business and strategic thinking. So I decided to do an MBA at Cranfield University. And I did this, and that really brought me to where I am in terms of my career. Some other things that have been happening so far is that I've ensured that I've kept learning. So really, I've embraced this whole attitude of being a lifelong learner. And I use online courses. I just make sure I keep abreast of what is happening because there's so many courses out there you can do. In terms of, those were in terms of academics. Now, I've also gone out of my way to volunteer, or when I say volunteer, I mean just get involved in professional groups that are doing things that are interesting to me. And it can start out with saying, what are you doing? How can I help? But really, it's a start. And a lot of those groups, a lot of those things that I've joined have actually turned out to help in widening my horizon in ways I hadn't thought possible. So my advice really would be fivefold. And before I get to the advice, I really also want to talk about the days that we're living in. Right now, okay, so personally, I've been in financial services for about 10 years or so, and it's such an interesting time to be in the industry. There's a lot of disruption, there's a lot of transformation, there are a lot of opportunities for data, to using data science, data analytics, AI, emerging technologies. So really, anyone who's interested in this area, now is the time to join this industry. Now, obviously, we're going through some crisis right now, but even after that is over, there will be so many opportunities for people who are interested in this industry and in these areas. So my advice to people who want to either enter the industry of AI or the space, if you will, of AI, data science, data analytics, especially women, is to really see how you can push yourself out of your comfort zone. Go for the things you're interested in. Remember, you are the driver of your career. So you don't have to figure out how to do it all on day one. If you're doing a 3 years master, 2 years master, you don't have to figure out how you're going to complete it all with all the other different things you're juggling. All you have to do is take one step at a time. Where there's a will, there's a way. You also, I would encourage you to seek out mentors and people who have gone on the path that you want to go on. I would also say network extensively, get involved in what people are doing. If you hear conversations about things or online, you see things that are happening that you're interested in, get involved immediately. Don't put it off till tomorrow. And I would say just challenge yourself daily. And I think if you do some of these things and with your love of, what you do, I think you go a long way in achieving those dreams that you have. So all the best and take care. Thank you.
Thanks for joining the Ladies in AI event this evening, organized by Data Science Nigeria, and thanks to Data Science Nigeria for having me on this platform. I consider this a huge privilege, and for the next 12 to 15 minutes, I will be talking about my perspective and my opinion about data science and artificial intelligence within Nigerian organization, and how that is catching on. And the later part of my discussion today, I've been asked to also speak around the defining moment in my career as well. So very quickly, I would go into the discussion, and I have a question from the panel that has asked if Nigerian companies are doing anything with data and are part of the global conversation around data. Personally, I would say that indeed Nigeria is doing something about data. And if you go down memory lane, you would agree with me that, at some point or the other, Nigeria has always generated data. We've always collected data, whether we've collected it quantitatively or qualitatively, we've always collected data, we've always generated data. We used to have NEPA and NITEL, and back in the days, you would have cases where you had to reconcile bills, and that's because they come into your house, they do meter readings, they document the meter readings, and then when you had a dispute around your bill, you had to drive down to their office, you sit down with them with your files and your bills, and you try to reconcile the bills. At some point within the census, information, data was collected. Whether you graduated from a college, from a polytechnic, or from a university, you had to deal with your records office, either for transcripts or for your certificates. And usually somebody will go into the file room or the records office, pull out this huge mark sheets or broadsheets, whatever they call it, using your matric number, using your faculty, using your department, and they'll get your results. They look at the accumulation of your tests and your exams and use that to determine whether you graduated from the university or the college. We've done voters registration, So across the board, we've always collected data. Our companies have collected data. Whether it's SIM registration data, whether it's in the passport office, whether it's BVN, your bank verification number, we've always collected data, we've always generated data, we've always had trails of data, across the board. So indeed in Nigeria and Nigerian organizations, whether it's in the public sector, whether it's in the private sector, have always generated data, have always had something to do with data. I think the conversation really will be the how of the data. And when I say the how of the data, it will be how have we stored the data, how have we translated the data, and translation means how have we moved that data into information, how have we used that information to generate actionable insights and actionable intelligence, how has the data that we've collected been used to influence decision making, whether it's in the public sector, whether it's in the private sector. So in the public sector, how has that influenced our national development, our infrastructural planning, budgeting, and all of that? If you look at it from an organizational perspective, how has that influenced things like our marketing? How has that influenced our rollout plans? How has that influenced how we treat our customers, how we offer goods and services to our customers? That in itself will be the broader conversation. But to say that we have not been doing anything with data, or we have nothing to do with data, will be untrue. We may have the data in raw forms, raw processed forms, and we may not have harnessed the potentials of that data for advantage as we should, as we should have, but that in itself does not imply that we're not doing anything with data. Putting this in a broader context as well, when the deregulation of the telecom sector happened, we had licenses for mobile network operators with the MTNs and the Airtels, and that was our first glimpse of digital, and that's, and the how of data changed the narrative. And so when I say the how of data changed the narrative, people would recharge their phones with like a 10, 12 digit number, and from recharging your phones, you could make a call, and instantly, once the call was done, you could see your account balance, and that removed the old story of having to reconcile bills. That was data. That was our first glimpse of digital. The telecom sector have gone on, giving us value-added services of different forms and personalized offerings. Today, by your usage patterns, they can tell what kind of customer are you, and they can give you offerings based on your usage patterns and by how well they have profiled you as a customer. Likewise, for the financial sector, they've also reinvented and repurposed themselves to innovate. From the days of using the tally system to when they moved to having practical customer service desk, and within 3 to 5 minutes, if I walk into a bank, I present my account number, they can exactly tell me what my account balance is, and so you spend less time in the bank. That has moved to even doing things like USSD banking, is moved into doing things like internet banking. And we see our bank, the financial services sector moving into various other verticals, and that's because everybody has started to catch on the knowledge of what data is and the asset value of data within an organization. Other instances that we've seen, the democratization of the social media has made, the importance of the customer-centric economy to be very visible, So customers are demanding more. The need to be able to be more customer-centric as an organization or as a business, whether you're in the goods industry or the services industry, has placed a whole lot of value on understanding that data is important. And what you do with data is also important. However, it will be very, it will be very naive of me to be able to say that we're there yet. So I wouldn't say we're there yet from a maturity point of view. We're still very at the low ebb, and the pace can indeed be very fast. If we think about the amount of data that is generated, the amount of value that we can get from the data that is generated, we can indeed do a whole lot more, as it were. And why is this, why is the pace pretty slow as we see today? Currently, many of our organizations are not yet fully data-driven. Institutions still plays a major role in decision-making. So while we have many organizations are catching on with analytics, with data science and all of that, we still find that a lot of the decisions that are made in our organizations are hinged on intuition, people's feelings, people's past experiences, and not necessarily on the numbers or the data that is presented before them. We also have the challenges with quantifying the leverage that data gives. So what's the opportunity cost when I leverage data, or when I leverage a data-driven approach to decision making. So that still becomes a challenge. So unlike the known traditional metrics, the revenues, the profits, and all of the things that we have on the financial statement, the EBITDA and all of that, those have drivers already, those are known and all of that. For data, it's still a bit in its infancy, so it becomes difficult, for organizations to begin to say there's indeed a leverage, from a cost perspective, if I'm adopting the data-driven approach. So what would typically come to mind is, when I talk about data or data-driven approaches, this is also another opportunity to build another additional cost center. It means we're going to be investing in XYZ in terms of people, XYZ in terms of technology, and that automatically slows down the pace. I think in addition to that will be the fact that we still have our data still in silos. So if you look at the Nigerian environment, for example, on one side you have your BVN data, which is just a standalone. You have your SIM registration data, which is also still standalone. You go to the passport office, it's still standalone. You have your national identity information, it's still standalone. And so we have buckets of data. And that in itself creates a whole lot of silos that are not being harnessed. So that also slows down our pace to be able to use our data to influence decision making, both in the public sector and also in the private sector. If you have been in the industry, you would agree with me that that's a conversation that's constantly being, bantered around. How do we begin to bring all of this data together to be able to make actionable insights? How do we bring all of this data together to be able to unlock the value that sits within the data? How can we ensure that the data that is collected across the private sector is also usable across the public sector, for things around national development, for things around fiscal planning and all of that, And so that sets the tone in terms of where we are from a maturity perspective. So while we're doing something with data, our how, what we do with the data, is still at a very low, and those are where the conversations should really sit today. And so when you ask as well and say things like data science or AI, many people still think, and I feel that a lot of people still think that these are buzzwords. And like I would say again, it would be very naive of anybody to think that when we talk about data science or when we talk about AI, it's a buzzword. It's not a hype. It's not a buzzword. It's here to stay. It is the future that is here now. Here now in the sense that it changes everything around us. It changes how our societies are going to develop. It changes how businesses are going to be run going forward. It changes even the kind of roles and the kind of jobs that people are going to take on. In the near future, if you're going to even be competitive, as an organization, whether in whatever industry you find yourself, whether it's in the health sector, whether it's in the educational sector, whether it's in the service industry, what is important is what are you doing with data science and AI, to be able to transform your industry, to be able to transform your business. I would be absolutely surprised if there's any CEO today, any CFO, or any CIO who is not critically thinking about digital transformation, and digital transformation that is driven by data science and artificial intelligence. And that's because the things that we've always known are going to be driven by these game changers. So we've always known our ERPs, for example, but the repetitive tasks that we do with our ERPs are going to change, are changing already. So people used to use either the Oracles and the SAPs, and finance people would do a PR, from a PR to a PO, and a PO to an invoice. Those are repetitive tasks. These things are being taken over by process automation, robotics, RPAs, taking over those kind of services and those kind of repeatable tasks, so that people can begin to do other value enriching tasks, for example. You find out that, people used to accountants will sit on tons of tax schedules to be able to determine, this is the applicable withholding tax, this is applicable withholding tax, there's no applicable withholding tax. But today, machine learning is able to look at history and on the basis of that, predict what's the applicable taxes. What that means, for example, is people don't need to sit 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in the office to do month-end processing. Before you know it, data science and artificial intelligence is going to be transforming all of that sector. It's already happening close to us, and before we know it, it's going to come home, and it's coming on to change the careers that we know today. In manufacturing, for example, and in the oil and gas, a lot of things are happening with IoT devices. People are inserting IoT devices in machines, so I don't need somebody to physically travel somewhere to go and collect readings and collect readings on power consumption, energy levels, fuel consumption, all those things with IoT devices. Collects the data, puts the data in a central source, and that data in itself can be used for whether it's descriptive analytics, whether it's predictive analytics, whether it's prescriptive analytics. All of that data is harnessed for value. So when you think about it, these are things that data science and artificial intelligence is building a convergence around, and it's changing our world. So like I said earlier, it will be very naive of anybody to think that this is just a buzzword. Communities like Data Science Nigeria as well are championing the cause, and that brings it more to the fore to let us know that this is a narrative that is catching on very strongly. Data Science in Nigeria, for example, with the pandemic, are doing some great work, with the data that is being collected. That's to let you know that with a lot of all these things that is happening around us, there's a lot that we can transform as societies, and transform how we live, how we run our companies, with data science and artificial intelligence. I could give you a million examples. Social media in itself, traditional media, traditional advertising has changed. It has changed drastically from what we used to know it to what it is now. It's now advertising on the go. Small devices, information is passed across, customers are gained, customers are lost. If I want to go into a market, it's a function of looking at what are the right marketing campaigns that needs to happen. And all of this is based on the aggregation of data, the aggregation of the knowledge about the customers to be able to roll out, initiatives that drive sustainable advantage. So I think in a nutshell, basically what I'm saying is things that, data in itself has changed our world today. Artificial intelligence has changed our world today. And in Nigeria as well, it's catching on, where we may not be where the rest of the world is, but we are part of the conversation. We're a large population. We have great potentials within our economy as well, which gives us a lot of leverage to be able to use things like data science and artificial intelligence to be able to change the story. And so, while it may seem that we are not doing anything, I think our conversation should be centered around how we're doing, what we're doing with the data, and the how of what we're doing with the data. And I think very quickly, lastly, for the next 3 minutes, I just pretty much want to talk about the defining point in my career, as I've been asked to speak around. So I started out being a software engineer in Computer Warehouse Group many years ago, and that was my first, after studying computer science and written a couple of Oracle exams. I started out just implementing ERPs, being a software engineer, and basically just doing a lot around SQL scripting, report writing. And those were the days of Crystal reports, those were the days of Oracle 6 High, and it was just reports. And those were my first exposure to SQL. But in terms of my defining points when it comes to my career, I think it will be when I moved into MTN, and I moved into the business intelligence unit at MTN. And while I'd worked at the back end and I'd moved various roles while at MTN, and I'd worked and interacted with a lot of data as an ETL specialist, data as, as an EDW, an enterprise data warehouse person, so it was my first time of seeing how that data was not translated into actionable insights. And that began to build my interest in analytics and artificial intelligence. I went on to taking courses in data science. I went on to take courses in machine learning, big data. And my career has moved from that. I've moved into consulting as well, where I've gone to do analytics and data science as well. I currently lead a technology demand team, where it's basically, driving digital transformation for the organization. So, if I were to talk about a defining point in my career, I would say it was at the point when I moved into that role at MTN as a business intelligence manager, doing a lot around decision support, doing a lot around data governance, data quality, helping to build the analytics maturity for the organization, and helping the organization to realize the value that sits within the data that was collected and was being generated across the entire.
Hello, my name is Mojisola Olawepo, and I'm currently the IT strategy lead technology group for an organization where I work with. I'm also the founder Everything on Data, and what I do basically is help people grow in the data and analytical field, and I also help people to upskill and continue to remain relevant in the field of digitization and technology. So to my question for the day, or questions, in my experience in IT strategy and leadership, what are some workplace challenges that are unique to women, and for organizations that want to do better in their workplace policies, what can they do? And the third question is my defining moments and decision of my entire career. So I'll just start with the first question, which is basically my experience in leadership as an IT strategy lead and challenges at my workplace and what organizations can do. So I'm going to be speaking on three major focal points. And the first is the fact that we have few women role models. And what I mean basically is that powerful women example in the workplace is actually very scarce. So you see that you observe that most organizations, you can just count the number of women that are on top positions that you can actually look up to. And when I say look up to, there are so many things about us that are women that you want to look up to a person. The first is the fact that this person has a family and the person is still able to be on top position, or this person has so many businesses, yet the person is making is actually doing very well in the workplace. So those are role models you want to look up to. But unfortunately, most women can't find any women like that on top positions that they can look up to. And most women in the seniority of visible, successful role in the organizations, like I said, they are very, very scarce. And what I just realized basically is that most women, because we don't have role models that we are looking up to, we will just rather remain quiet at the office space and just do our job and go back home. So no one is saying I can do more than this. No role model, and which is a very big issue. I've had an opportunity where I had to be a role model to someone at my place of work and in my space. And when she got back to me, she said she never knew she could actually be more than what she was. No one telling you that you can actually be better than who you are. And because most times the male bosses, they don't even have your time. So if you're going to meet them and you're talking about family and all that, they can't empathize with you. Unlike a woman that is on top of a role and you are able to discuss and she tells you about how you can maneuver through life. I think organizations can be intentional about appointing highly skilled and qualified women in top positions, and so that they can actually be a form of role models to women that would like to also climb that ladder and become like them. It should be a conscious effort that organizations can actually do. Then we have organizations also coming up with leadership programs which will help drive women inclusion in the workplace. So the second point I'm going to be talking about right now is non-inclusiveness in the workplace. non-inclusiveness in the workplace. And what do I mean by that? Most times women feel often ignored or dismissed in the workplace, which is actually correct. And the fact that someone is actually a woman, because you are a woman, is enough for any man to look down on you before even thinking about your capabilities. So you see that women have to work 10 times harder to prove themselves to what they are. I'm going to use my experience as an example. I can remember when I was called to take up this role, and I just had to continue to explain the fact that you can't do any work without strategy being part of it, or a function cannot be done without strategy. So I was talking, and when I realized that I was talking and nothing was coming out of it, I just had to implement. And because I had other skills like my data skills and analytical skills, I was able to, drive some strategies using my data capabilities. So the question now is that as a woman, it is true that yes, you have to show that you know how to do your job. But the question now is that, are you now ready for that position? Are you ready to showcase that you have a skill? For me, I believe that organizations should look into this and see how they can also upskill women to positions, top level positions, so that they can be able to, achieve so much more. And I also believe that an atmosphere of where the voice of women should be heard should also be created in an organization. I think our organization should also create a conversational ground that allows for fair inclusiveness. So everybody should be able to speak up. I shouldn't be judged because of my gender. I shouldn't be judged because I am a woman. And I think the organization should allow everybody to be able to achieve based on your capabilities, based on your skills. Then lastly, what I notice about being a leader and a woman in the workplace is the fact that some women have a form of mindset which they need to change, and that mindset is because I am a woman. So that brings me to my third point, which is our mindset. So organizations could actually do so much in respect to inclusiveness, and they could also do so much in respect to seeing how they can, push women to top leadership positions. However, as a woman, how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself as someone taking a very top position or a role in the future, or do you see yourself as, I just want to do my job and just go home? So the question now is that what bar or what target are you setting for yourself as a woman? I'm going to use myself as an example. So I had to grow from the lowest of positions to where I am today. And I did that because everybody actually goes through that. And I actually had to put effort in my job. I was passionate. There are sometimes I will be in a role that I was not passionate about. But I was passionate, and I made sure that I tried to understand every role, every job function that I found myself in, so that I can be of impact to that team. And I noticed that most times when I leave a team, they always remember me. So that's the kind of mindset, the kind of picture I want to paint, or I want to leave behind in people's mind, so that when they are looking for top positions or women that they need to put in top roles, my name will be called up first. I wasn't doing it because of the top role. I was doing it because of myself and my future and my career goals, because I see myself as a leader in every way. So your mindset and the way you see yourself goes a long way in where you'll be positioned, which is very, very key. Now to the third question, which is my defining moment and decision of my entire career. Wow. My defining moment was the moment I was deployed to the technology group as an IT analyst. For me, I've always been someone with multiple skill sets. I love technology. I love business process optimization. I love digitization and digitalization. I just loved technology. But for someone that graduated with economics, I mean, I never knew that technology was my thing. I just knew I loved technology. So when I was moved to technology as the IT analyst, I took that as an opportunity for myself. And that's what I'm saying. When you see yourself in a role, how do you perform? How do you drive that role? And I had to learn technology. I had to understand technology from the scratch. So I had to learn analytics from the scratch again, because as an IT analyst, my function was to be implementing analytics for driving decisions around data for technology. So in a domain that wasn't my space, I just had to start. And that was the beginning for me. When I started understanding technology, I moved up to lead a role in the data and analytics team, of which I was called back to also lead this role for IT strategy, based on my capabilities, based on the fact that I could actually achieve more, and my drive and passion. So the question now is that, what is your defining moment? Not everybody has the opportunity to actually work in technology, but you have the opportunity to upskill yourself. You have the opportunity to become more. You have the opportunity to become what you want to be. There are a lot of platforms, online platforms that trains and teaches on different skills. How have you been able to, apply and opt into some of these things to help you upgrade your skill? So the question now is not just about the workplace and women. The question now is about you. Who do you choose to become? And what do you choose to become? Because the future is waiting for you. Thank you very much.
Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ehiaghe, and I am co-founder and chief technology officer at Vesicas. Vesicas is a fintech company. Basically, we help ensure trust and accountability during transactions. The first question I have here says, you work in fintech. What in your software development process can machine learning or artificial intelligence make more efficient? Yes, of course. I would say what I've been able to do so far is to leverage Google's Cloud Vision APIs to improve not just our product, but also our business. Before now, we had customers who would prefer to pay us using over-the-counter approaches, like going to the bank and collecting a teller and actually paying over the counter, right? Like paying us, depositing funds to us over the counter. And these customers usually range from farmers and people in the agri space, basically, as well as people in the real estate sector. Of course, they would usually want to escrow their funds, but since they are not really tech savvy, like they don't have constant internet, or more like they are not used to what we are used to right now, right? So it turns out that our existing software did not really work for them. So we decided to build an internal tool that helped us extend our services to this kind of customers. And now, when these people deposit their funds to our account, all they have to do is send us a screenshot, and our software is able to immediately extract the text from the photos and convert the paper records into digital ones. That's the power of machine vision right there. Also, machine learning has helped a lot of organizations simplify the project management process. There's this general problem around cost and time estimation that project managers usually have during software engineering process. So sometimes a project manager could allot deadline and cost, majorly deadlines for a project based on his experience. And of course, sometimes things may not go as planned, and a project that was estimated to last for about a month could end up spanning to 2 months, as the case may be, right? But now with machine learning tools like Easy Projects, it has become a lot easier to forecast when a project is likely to be completed, and easily and quickly identify the risk that may be associated with the development process. Another good use case for machine learning during the software development process is in code reviews and testing, even in writing the code itself. So usually we know that there are many repetitive tasks when it comes to coding, even when during code reviews and during software testing. But thanks to Stack Overflow, they've built this machine learning tool called Stack Overflow Autocomplete, which now helps developers to reduce this effort. More like it learns from the data on Stack Overflow and creates new code, making the coding process shorter. There's also Deep Code. Deep Code basically helps make code review efficient. So it learns from the source code repositories and finds critical bugs in the code. I could go on and on, but I'll stop here for now. Second question says, what was the defining moment and decision of your entire career? 2015 was the year I first learned about data science and how it can impact business decisions. But at that time, things were a bit tight for me and I couldn't really dedicate enough time to learn about it then. So I kept procrastinating. But in 2018, I decided to plan my time better and I was finally able to have a head start in data science and machine learning. That one decision basically changed things for me. Although sometimes I wish I had started earlier, but I'm still happy about what I've been able to build so far and the processes that I've been able to optimize using the power of data science for my clients across the globe. And if you are still wondering whether you should start or whether you've got what it takes to excel in this field, I'd say a very, very, very big yes. Please start. Go for it today. Like start right now, not even today, right now. Consistently learn and apply your knowledge. Just do that for 1 year and you'll be very, very happy that you did. Thank you for having me.
Hello again, everybody. My name is Wuraola. I lead research and innovation at Data Science Nigeria, and I'm grateful that everybody decided to be here. Thank you to our speakers. I had the privilege of being the first to see all those videos, and my thoughts were, wow, we are lucky we got it right with everybody that is speaking today. I'll say thank you to, I'm saying thank you again to DSN ladies. They made this very easy for me to plan. We were absolutely looking forward to doing this over small chops and drinks, but Sis Rona did not let that work. But thank you. I hope you had a great time like I did. I hope you're inspired. I hope that those people that decided to lay it bare before us, to share their struggles, to share the interesting things they've been working on from different walks of life, I hope it's that fun. Okay, we're not going to end this without talking about DSN again. Our goal remains we want to build 1 million African AI talents in 10 years. We have AI club campuses, AI clubs on campuses and universities, 17 unis in 23 cities, and we are still spreading. So now we'll talk about that professional training. We've trained those companies on the screen. We have good feedback from them, and we look forward to having more people come on board to train with us. You can check that on the website. And please call this guy. He's our business manager. He's always open to answer your questions about professional training. I am open. Any DSN staff is open to get more information about this. And if you're curious like me, if you want to know what DSN has done in the past year, let's say you don't know and you want to know what we have been up to, please check this on the website. And have a great evening. And thank you again for participating.